Placerville.
Placerville traffic, Luscombe 71608, final 5, Placerville. Stop.
For the full stop landing. We'll try a wheel landing this morning, see how it comes out. We got about 4 knots on the beak and a good downhill sloping runway to this direction. Which means good sinker. See that drop off at the end of the runway 5 there, the approach end? That'll be a big sinker right there, I bet you. So we're going to stay a little high for that and land a little bit long for that. Got plenty of speed. Slight right crosswind.
Traffic, Cherokee 37 Whiskey, turning right downwind, runway 5. To go.
Like that.
Nice.
I'll see if we can make the turn off. Somebody liked that landing on the Unicom. Little bit of heel brake. Wheel landing in the Luscombe. If we're going to go see an old twin Beech today, we better be proficient at wheel landings.
We're here at Placerville Airport today in Northern California. Check out this beautiful 1954 twin Beech Beech 18 owned by Jimmy Dixon of Cameron Park, California. Let's go for a ride.
That's the way to travel. Mark, you want to make a few turns? I'll hold your camera.
I'll go back and make a couple of old fashions. What could possibly go wrong with an old fashioned?
I'll have one since you're on.
I'll just push this button that says booze.
Can I turn there a little bit? Anything you want. Oh my God, look at that.
What do you think, Mark? Just a fingertip?
It is so light on the controls. I mean, it feels solid, but it's light. It's not like it's lumbering around. 450 horsepower, about 3 feet from me.
Nice. It's a wrap. Wheel landing. The only way to fly. Big old chip. Look at that. Look at the spar strap on this one. Holy smokes. Extended wingtips. One-piece windshield, seating for 7, twice pipes and rudders. Find the runway eventually. Good. Full stall. Perfect. Let's see, I'll drop this. The executive airline style doors. That's it, the world famous Jimmy. What are you doing, man? Good.
How are you? Good morning. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, what a beauty, man. I now remember now. I saw you were up in Nevada County a few weeks ago.
We do pop in there.
Yeah.
Hi.
Beautiful.
We made your Airfest 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's as low as he has ever gotten.
I couldn't buy another map. And then my transponder go out of the tray.
Look at this. Look at that. Feather number 1, feather number 2. So it looks like 2 main tanks and 2 aux tanks is all that's left. With the throttles in the middle. Room for 5 plus a pilot and a co-pilot. Seats for 7. So Jimmy, you bought this aircraft from Paul here.
That's right.
And Paul, where did you have this aircraft based out of?
Cameron Park.
Right there at Cameron Park, huh? Jimmy just couldn't resist, huh?
Had to have it. So it took 5 years to get it, though. The price kept coming down, and when the numbers worked, we bought it.
You let him stew in his juices to see how much it cost to own the thing?
We had a contingency, though, and that was that it passed the Spar inspection.
Right.
So Paul said if I'd pay for the inspection, that he would work with me on that. So once it passed the inspection, we were off and running.
And then, Paul, what was your inspiration for getting this machine? Where did you get it from?
Friend of mine, good friend of mine, Dick White, found it in Seattle, Washington, and it was in a hangar, and an older gentleman had it for a number of years trying to get it flying, and finally gave up. He said, I'm just too old, and I'll just never make it happen. So he and I hauled it down to Cameron Park on a trailer in pieces.
Oh.
And
with the help of Ty Ramey.
Yeah, with Ty Ramey.
Yep.
That was, he had the trailer and stuff. So we got it down there and proceeded to get the thing put together. But then a mortgage, a marriage, and everything else, and I still didn't have enough money to get the thing certified to fly again. So it sat, and then
Moneybag shows up, the American Airlines captain.
he bided his time for a number of years, and then made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He'd buy it as long as it passed Spar inspection, and once we got it flying, he'd let me fly it.
Good.
So that was all I needed.
Win-win, and it kind of stayed in the family right there at Cameron Park.
That whole like putting it together, getting it home, and getting it flying process.
I don't know.
15 years.
Closer to 20.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
Once I bought it, a year and a half.
Okay.
I got on it, and I wasn't going to quit.
It takes
So
a new
I
owner to
committed
get
to the project.
well, we were just talking about that. If you're in it for the money, you're in the wrong game.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that he was talking about being able to get one for $30,000. And I said, there's people out there who'll pay $30,000, put 200 in it, make it fly, and then they can only get 100,000 out of it.
Yep.
So if you're in it for the money, you're in the wrong game.
Yep. And then tell me the prior history of this, RJ Reynolds. What year is it, and who did it go
It's
to?
1954, so it was delivered brand new to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it flew for RJ Reynolds for several years, I think about 4. And then it spent a lot of time up in Virginia, Danville, Virginia, with a private corporation. And to this day, every once in a while, I'll find a blue or a pale green little piece of paint chip somewhere in an inspection hole,
Yeah.
and that was the original colors from, if you can recall, the Pall Mall cigarettes.
Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of Salem cigarettes for
Yeah.
R.J. Reynolds. So they must have had it painted in the corporate colors.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then do you know what it did kind of in between?
Well, after that, so now we're talking about 1975, but we think it went to Canada. It never went under Canadian tail numbers, but we know that it did some parachute operations because of the little dings by the door. You can see where all
Who
the.
polished it?
It's a joint effort, but mainly me.
Yeah.
That's my baby. She gets a polish once a year in the spring before it gets hot, and then that'll last all year for the air shows.
Oh, okay.
So what have you heard about the controversial Spar AD? Was it an intentional effort to kill this super popular design? It went for how many years did it run, Mark?
32 years.
32 years.
9,000 planes built.
Yeah.
How many are flying?
Less than 300 are
Today.
left flying in the world.
Yeah. And so what's the latest talk in the Beech 18 community about that Spar AD and the history of it?
Well, there were 3 or 4 Spar mods. We have the exterior mod on here, which was done in the late 70s. So the original AD, I believe, came out in about 1975.
75, right. And you didn't drill any holes into this Spar as a
No,
result.
We bought it like this.
Uh-huh.
So to do the Spar inspection, that strap had to be removed.
Oh.
Total inspection of the strap, and then the X-ray.
X-ray the spar itself,
Yeah.
and the strap to make sure there's no fractures or corrosion or anything. So
All the welds, all those joints.
Yep. And does that strap, is it riveted on or bolted on?
Both. So you can see underneath, if you look right there, there's panels that are riveted. There's three sections.
from right here
Mm-hmm.
all the way back, and then they start doubling it,
Okay.
tripling it, all the way through the wings and stuff. This
All the way across the
reinforces-
fuselage.
These are
This one-
doublers, and
Yeah.
that's the strap itself.
That's the strap
beginning.
itself.
Okay.
Come to the middle.
So this is the part that comes off for your AD inspection. This bit stays on.
That's just to stiffen up the wing.
Gotcha.
So this was considered the inexpensive mod because it's exterior.
Uh-huh. And then this is added
This
on.
is added on for a fairing. The expensive mod was internal.
Yeah.
So this was the cheaper of the mods.
But I think it was also
Check
one of the
that.
first mods. I don't think that the expensive mod came out until later, just to try to streamline it more.
And then
Were the failures that made it prominent, or was it just
Spar
the-
failure.
Did they
I think they had a couple in-flight breakups.
Oh, okay.
so it was
It was a bona fide.
it was a
thing.
bona fide thing. Yeah.
Basically, I think it was cracks at certain joints. The weak point I'm understanding is the engine mounts out here. They take the most load.
Oh, okay.
So the welds go right into the spar, into the middle, and the rest of the monocoat is built around that.
Okay. So the engines, 985 Pratt &
Pratt &
Whitney.
Whitney 450 horse, 985s,
So-
supercharged, 10-to-1 blower.
So that's the same as in a, that's like in a Beaver. Are they 985s?
They can be, I believe.
Yeah.
They can be or bigger.
Yeah. What's the TDO on those?
1400.
Okay.
So we're at 350 on this side, 750 on the right side.
Do they generally make it?
Oh, absolutely. The
Are they-
lower end is bulletproof. Cylinders can have problems now and then. We're in good shape. The folks before us had Servitol cylinders, or differential pressure checks are wonderful.
So you didn't have to have these overhauled when you
No.
acquired it?
No,
Great.
Paul had pickled the engine, so they're in good shape.
Uh-huh.
Now
Hamilton.
the other AD that I had to comply with, which was expensive, was the Hamilton Standard Prop AD.
Oh,
That was an expensive one, and that they have to take apart the entire hub,
yeah.
check the blades. So that was one of my biggest expenses.
Is that a recurring AD on that one?
5-year AD.
Oh, geez. Yeah, same
Now
as.
it's all Hamilton Standard.
Regardless
5
of
years.
hours, every 5 years.
What does that cost?
It was $13,000 for both down at Stockton Propeller. They treated
Yeah.
me well.
Good.
So we're at 3 years now. We have 2 years to go.
Now that included some parts that needed to be replaced on them.
For the 13 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're lucky and all they have to do is put in new seals and things like that, probably 9 or 10 grand maybe.
Mm-hmm. And they're still common enough propellers where you can get parts for them.
Yes.
Yeah. And same with the 985s. They're still
Plenty of
fairly
parts.
common. Yeah, plenty of parts. Yeah.
Matter of fact, Covington, is that who
Yep.
I'm thinking of? They actually manufacture new cylinders for these engines because there's still so many of them out
Ah,
there.
good.
So
Okay, here's your cow
One
flaps.
nice thing is checking your mixture, looking in the stacks.
See what the color comes out like here, and then
You
you want
see a
that
light gray
nice light gray tan color. Yeah.
They're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Not black and oily.
No, that's too rich.
No, we don't use oil in this. We have just a few leaks from the engine start when the oil's real thick. But we have no leaks, and my usage would be less than a quart an hour.
Does it drip when parked?
It can, and there's different reasons for that, but the main reason is the oil settles down into the lower part of the engine and can come through cylinders.
Oh,
The back of the
So on the
pistons and
first
valves.
start in the morning, do you have to manually pull it through?
Yes, we do.
yeah,
9 times?
you do that with any radial.
Yeah.
4 or 5 revolutions, which is about 9 or 10 pulls.
Okay.
And when you shut it down, do you have to do something with the prop to get the oil out of the dome so
I've
when you
heard
start it
different
up?
stories.
And
I heard that if you leave them where they stop, your best results.
so you get oil right away to the engine on startup.
It's more for the oil leaking into the lower cylinders. I think.
Yep.
To avoid blowing it off with a hydraulic
But
lock.
again, for the engine startup, we'll pull it through several times to check for the hydraulic lock.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was one, you'd feel it.
I felt it once.
And what do you do then?
You have to pull
Stop.
a plug.
Stop, whatever you
The only
do.
way out. Yeah.
So I
So
used
it
the
won't
plug.
open it doesn't open a valve and just drain out.
No,
I
no.
pulled about a pint out. It was
Oh, really?
amazing, and it's only happened once. And why that happened, we'll never know.
Because, man, you hit that hydraulic lock, you bend a rod just instantly,
That's it, it's
and
over,
it's
yeah.
over.
That
The
is
whole
good.
engine is done. Case is split, rod replaced. All right, so inside the cockpit, you got dual yoke, obviously, and then typical Beech quadrant with the throttle in the middle, and then prop on the left, mixture on the right. 2 feather buttons right up there to feather the... Do you have an unfeathering accumulator on this?
Yes, you pull the button out, and it releases, and you can unfeather the engine.
Unfeather and start it up again.
Yes.
Okay, and then show us where those cowl flap levers are, right there. And the gear handle, show us that.
Right here.
Right there, and the gear indicator lights are right next to it. And we've got the fuel system. We've got, how many gallons? You said 200 or so gallons?
200, 75 each in the mains,
Mm-hmm.
25 in the aux, 200 total.
And,
It gives you 3 hours with an hour reserve.
and your fuel gauge
Right here.
is right there, and then you got to select, typical Beechcraft, you got to select which tank you want to read off that gauge. And we got the flaps, and you got manual trim all the way around. You got your elevator trim back here,
All right.
and
Aileron trim.
aileron trim right there, and then rudder trim right overhead, like that. And you've got elevator trim indicator next to your flap indicator right there. All right, good. And then engine instruments, you got your... Now, as far as identifying the engine, this is why in these light twins, so to speak, you got to use your dead foot, dead engine identification technique, because the needles are just numbers 1 and 2, and
It's hard to read.
hard to read. They're right there parallel, and they're in the same gauge. And then the temperatures and pressures and fuel flows. Backup gauges here, carb temperatures and cylinder head temperatures. All right. And then oil cooler doors right there to keep your oil temperature in the green. All done manually.
Correct.
So the empty weight of the plane is what, around 3,000 or so? 3,500?
Oh no, we're at 6,100 empty, and then we have 2,700 usable.
Uh-huh. That's what the useful load was
Useful
around
load.
3,000, so it's 2,700.
2,700 useful load.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So we can 6 200-pound passengers and full of fuel,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in balance.
And you're in balance and at gross weight,
Yes.
full of fuel. And with that range, you figured 3 hours plus 45-minute reserve, plus or minus.
With 200 gallons.
Mm-hmm. and clipping along at about 150, 160 knots or so.
Depending on your power setting.
Yeah, yeah. And you could certainly, so that's a fuel burn of around 40 or so gallons per hour total.
The best you can do is about 42.
Yeah.
And if you want to put it to at 45, some folks will claim 38, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you really punch it, you can run up to 90 gallons per hour, I suppose, if you really
could.
That'll empty your wallet quick. A whole paycheck. Wow.
Number 12 is the 30, number 8. And whatever.
Prime it, and then we hit a boost for shower sparks, and you crank it 2 blades to get the engine up to speed, and then you throw the mags on.
Oh, while it's spinning.
While it's spinning, and it just really aids in the starting. We're supercharged, so we got to watch the mixtures, but I lean a little bit for taxi. Our cow flaps are open for cylinder head.
And these are the Pratt 980s. 985s, okay.
450 horse.
Each. Nice.
So on takeoff, we'll pull 36 inches. 36.5 is the max and 2,300 RPM.
Okay. Are the superchargers always running?
They are. It's a direct drive 10-to-1 ratio, and they're not very big. But what they'll do is they'll give you 75% power at 10,000 feet. So that's where you can get your true airspeed up. You got plenty of horsepower in the thin air with this big airframe.
Right.
So the low teens seem to give you your best true airspeed, fuel, and power. So she'll do about 165 knots, burning 42 gallons an hour.
42.
So
But if you wanted it to, it could burn a lot more, couldn't it?
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, I see your feather buttons up there. What's your engine failure procedures on this rig? And
Well,
I see a blue line there.
Yeah, it's a standard multi-engine, late multi-engine procedure. Identify, verify, and feather. But the difference is we'll feather with the buttons. So we have electric hydraulic feathering motors. It's a dedicated pump, and it takes engine oil out of a standpipe in the oil tanks. It's always there. It has about 1.5 gallons available at all times. So you want to hit the right button.
That's right. And your throttles in this quadrant are in the middle.
Very good point. Standard Beechcraft throttles in the middle.
Yep. And we have 2 main tanks, and they're both on, and looks like you only have 1 aux tank per wing.
Correct. 200 total, so it's 75 for 150 in the mains, and then 25 each. So you get 3 hours and an hour reserve with full fuel, 200 gallons.
And how is it as a tail dragger?
Well, that's the beauty of this. The fun of this aircraft is the multi-engine tail dragger. And it's just a good combination of skill with... it's just very rewarding to do this right. And to get it right in a crosswind is exceptionally challenging.
Is it got a pretty authoritative rudders, those little rudders back there?
Yes, they're effective so long as the tail's flying. Okay,
Okay.
once you set the tail down, you're down to braking, differential braking, and differential thrust.
So wheel landings are the preferred landing technique.
Like a DC-3, the wheel landing is the standard. You just get too slow to do a three-pointer in this.
Yep.
And then it gets a little wallowy and the ailerons get mushy.
Yep.
So we'll come in at 90 knots, we'll sort of split the two.
And on takeoff, is it a big deal like the DC-3, you want to get that tail up and the rudders working?
Yes. We'll let the tail sort of fly itself, and they'll come up about 40. So we're in knots on here, incidentally.
All right.
Fuel's on, flaps are set, trim is set, run-up complete. Generators, suction. So once we line up on the runway, we'll lock the tail wheel, and that's really assist in keeping her straight down the runway, and especially coming back in for the landing.
Do you always lock it?
Yes, so we'll taxi with it free, and we'll lock it once we're lined up. So the takeoff checklist is complete, guys. Placerville traffic, Twin Beech, 3532 Bravo is departing 23 with a left downwind departure. Tail wheel's locked. What we'll do is roll forward a little bit, tap a brake, and make sure it's centered.
Okay.
36.5.
Fantastic sound.
My gear's up.
So on climb out there, looks like we saw 1,500 feet per minute, pretty common.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
We'll get our cylinder heads cooled off here.
Yep. Cruise climb, 120 knots,
That's
500
right.
foot per minute, 30, 20.
That's the way to travel.
Mark, you want to make a few turns? I'll hold your camera.
I'll go back and make a couple of old fashions. What could possibly go wrong with an old fashioned?
I'll have one since you're up.
I'll just push this button that says booze.
Can I turn her a little bit?
Anything you want.
Oh my God, look at that.
What do you think, Mark? Just fingertip?
It is so light on the controls. I mean, it feels solid, but it's light. It's not like it's lumbering around. 450 horsepower, about 3 feet from me. I like this.
That is a nice eyebrow.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you'd be looking down here. So right now we're burning, what, 45 an hour?
About 45. That's a good estimate. So 150 knots over the ground is about normal down here. Up at 10,000, that'll read 165.
Uh-huh. Bonanza speeds.
That's about right.
So we got 1850, yeah, 1850 on the turns and 25, 6, 7 inches or so. So you closing the cow flaps area?
We're looking for an oil temp of 60.
Uh-huh.
So we're running about 55.
You do have cowl flaps on this, right?
We do. We'll
Yeah.
close those up shortly as soon as
Okay.
we get Down a little bit.
A little bit more. And those cowl flaps, I don't see them up here. They must be down on the bottom.
Right here to my left.
Oh, I mean on the engines themselves, on the nacelles.
Yeah, they're down.
Down low.
Oh, I see them right here, yeah.
Oh, here go the cowl flaps. So now we're in a pretty good cruise configuration. And we want to get the oil temp up to about 60.
What a comfortable cruiser.
What do you think? Should we take it to Oshkosh?
Just lull you right to sleep back here.
That'd be a great trip. Base final land.
Okay, we'll pull 20 inches on downwind. And the gear speed's 108 knots. Flaps is 105, so getting her slowed down to the challenge.
108 slow for gear speed, isn't it?
Placerville traffic, Twin Beach, 3532 Bravo on a left 45 for 23, downwind. There's gear speed. Gear's coming down.
Feel the drag.
One green light.
Yeah.
So that's for the mains and the tail wheel.
Very fast electric gear.
It is.
So the tail wheel retracts.
3 miles.
1/2 flaps, the tail wheel comes up and it has clamshell doors.
Right downwind 16 Willows.
And I don't think the Lockheed Electra had that, so that's a deluxe feature.
Yeah.
So apply 90 knots all the way around the pattern.
Okay. And how do we know the tail wheel's locked?
It's part of the green light.
Okay.
It's very similar speeds to like a Cessna 182.
It really is. Those are knots. Placerville traffic, Twin Beach 32 Bravo, turning final 23.
Stand by Charlie, remain left downwind road.
She do sit tall.
Well, you made that look easy. Tail down.
Tail's down, well unlock the tail wheel, open the cowl flaps. The flaps.
That was excellent.
Was that smoother than you thought it would be? Or?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it'd fly pretty rough, doesn't it? But it's, I think Beech got it right when he made this, didn't he?
Yeah, yep. Aerodynamically well balanced and stable.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Jimmy, for bringing us up and letting us check out your Twin Beech.
You're very welcome.
By the way, Jimmy Dixon and I have flown together, both at American Airlines. We last flew together on the 777, I think it was, on a trip. And we also flew together back on the 757 6 days, as I recall.
Way back.
Yeah.
Super 80.
Super 8 even? Holy smokes, that wasn't a far cry from this.
Super 80. And were you 737?
I did, yeah. I did.
I missed you on the 75, 76.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
So it must have been one of the others.
It was 73.
I did them all because not by choice, but yeah. And so you got a few years left. You're filling up. You're topping off your retirement account so you can keep this thing going.
You know, when I retire, the Twin Beech will have to go.
Oh man,
So we're gonna enjoy it another year and a half.
a year and a half.
This summer, next summer, and then as I retire from the airline, that'll be the end of the Twin Beech.
Wow. Yeah. And so eventually she will come to market, or have you got the next predecessor, the next
That's Mark.
owner filled out, figured out? Mark,
I'll help you there.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna. There you
Videoing everybody video.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for bringing her up.
Okay,
Thank you.
guys.
That was great.